At Honda, we always look for ways to innovate. That's why we combined summer and celebration to create the Honda Summerbration sales event. You can combine 0.9% APR with the stylish Accord, a car and driver's 10 best. So hurry into your local Honda dealer for the Honda Summerbration sales event. It's amaze-tacular.
Visit your Metro Milwaukee Honda dealer today during the Honda Summerbration sales event.
Car and driver January 2017. APR financing offers available for well-qualified buyers. See dealer for financing details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome to a very snowy, very cold, but very beautiful Wednesday afternoon. I'm very, very fortunate and blessed, and I'm going to say thank you right off the bat to my dear friend Tomcat Malta or AKA Tomcat Joe for rearranging his schedule a second time so that we can get over our technical difficulties, because you can see we're now on air. Very, very excited to be presenting him today. It's always my privilege to be able to host local musicians on my show, just because I honestly feel that they don't get enough exposure. We're not in LA or New York or any of those fun-to-do places that offer much more exposure for musicians. So I'm very pleased and proud that I'm able to offer a format and an ability to be able to get the word out about not only his individual projects, but of course, as I understand it, Tomcat Joe is actually his new formulated band. So we're going to get a chance to talk about the new stuff, a little bit of the old stuff, find out who this guy is besides that handsome little face that resembles Johnny Cash and Joaquin Phoenix, as I always say. And I want to just go ahead and make a real quick notation. Tomorrow's show, we're going to be hosting Elizabeth Mason, who is the individual who's responsible for all those beautiful couture bags out in California. So I'm very excited to say that I'll be hosting her, and then I'm going to be off the weekend. Very excited to announce that I'll be going off to see all of my good friends and some of my PR relation people out in New York this weekend. So definitely going to miss you. So without further ado, let's get Tomcat on the line and start talking to him about him. Hi, Mr. Tomcat.
Hi, Cindy.
How are you?
Great to be on your show. I'm doing good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I feel like you're right next to me, so this is absolutely awesome. I'm very, very excited. I have a lot to ask you, and I have a lot to brag about in your regard, so we need to get going because I know you only have so much time. So let's talk about you a little bit. To those that don't know, my very first encounter with Mr. Tomcat Malta, I was at an open jam at a place called Rocco's. To those of us who live in Milwaukee, you know that's a local establishment that does open jams for musicians. At that particular time, you're soon to be facing, I know, surgery on your throat, and fortunately for all of us, you're very well recovered and performing all over the place, and I have to say that, hands down, I don't know if it'll make you blush, but you're probably one of my most favorite musicians in the entire town.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're amazing. You are. You're amazing.
Thank the Lord and the doctors at Frederick Hospital for the recovery on my throat.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Jesus, for that one, because I was very, very nervous and apprehensive about that, and I thought, okay, well, let's just see what happens here. And now not only is he back, but he's tremendous in that he lends himself to so many different collaborative efforts in town, and he's just the most approachable guy. So nice, very, very, very direct, very sweet. I'm just going to keep blabbing about you for the next 40 minutes and talking about how great you are. Well, let's start the interview off. We're first going to discuss your journey into music a little bit, because for those of us who don't know you personally, talk to the audience a little bit about when you're little and growing up, what brought the inspiration to you in terms of wanting to become a musician?
Well, music's in my blood. I have family members going back a couple of generations that have played the guitar or sang in bands. Different styles of music, ranging from jazz to rock. Some artists as well, too. So I guess it was always kind of in there. And then what really hit it for me was being in high school and meeting some guys that were in rock bands and hanging out and seeing them play and just kind of wanting to be a part of something really cool.
Sure, I imagine so. Is it a proper assessment to ask the question that would your family have expected you to follow this path? Obviously, because when you have all of those generations or individuals that are involved in it, is it just something that you were expected to do? Do you think?
No, there was no expectations to get into it. I kind of chose it, and that probably led me to wanting to stick with it. That it was my choice.
Sure. Okay. Now, I've noted here that your first performance, playing the guitar, that is at age 14. I wanted to know, who did you perform for, what venue was it at, and how successful were you, obviously, with your first performance and being young? And looking back on it, was it a learning experience for it? Was it horrid, or were you like, oh, man, I got it right on.
Well, I'm still having learning experiences for sure. At the time, I was just glad to be playing. Some of the venues that we were playing at the time were hard rock venues, the Jabberwocky, Billy's Old Mill, T.A. Vern's, the Unicorn.
My God. Yep.
Shooters on the east side that ended up becoming Esoteria later. The Rave or the Eagles Club.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know, not too successful, but was definitely glad to be out there and a part of it. There were a lot of good bands that I got to open up for and watch, kind of see how it's really done kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Some good experiences and some good times.
Now, in terms of the guitar side of things, as compared to being, of course, you're a singer as well as a guitar player, how did you get your training or any form of formal education, or did you not, as it was relative to playing an instrument?
Well, when I first wanted to get into music, the last thing I thought I would be is a singer. And the second last thing was guitar or bass. I really wanted to play drums. But that seemed impractical at the time. And what did work out was I ended up with a bass. And my first lessons at it was just a singer in a band I wanted to jam with pointed out places on the neck of the bass guitar, where to play this song, where to play that song, and I kind of just took it from there.
Okay, I got it.
Later on, I did have a few lessons.
Oh, okay, I was just going to say, and did it prove to be challenging? I know that some musicians have told me, if your heart and your passion's not into it, meaning, like, let's say you're going to play a particular instrument, if you're really, really not in it and not wanting it that badly, it's like you're good at it, but it's not the one thing you're known for. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you find that, or do you think that you're pleased with the progress you've made in terms of playing?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm grateful for the progress I've made. I think I'm a slow but steady learner with music. It's back when I first started, it was a real challenge. It's easier to find the notes now. I mean, and it has been for a few years, but at first it was just to mechanically fret the strings and just to make the notes happen was a challenge. And learning songs seemed to take forever. But when you want to do something bad enough, and especially at a certain age where you have a lot of focus at it, you'll make it happen.
As you have, obviously, because I've been privy to that. I've seen Tomcat play over and over again, and you don't do anything badly, by the way. It almost puts us other artists to shame, I got to say, because I look at you and it's like a finely tuned machine. I guess that's the best way to probably put it, is that you know from start to finish how you're doing. Honestly, that's how you present yourself, at least to myself and other individuals that know you. That's the best way to describe you, I think, musically, as it stands. I'm curious to ask about this statement in terms of you. You hear musical tones by feeling the vibrations through your jaw. Maybe expound further on this concept, because I've not heard that before from a musician.
All right. Well, I don't do that anymore, but I have done it and I can do it. What it is when I first started playing music and I got a hold of a bass guitar, I knew very little about it. And honestly, I couldn't figure out at the time why it wasn't making any noise. I was playing the strings on this bass guitar and I was turning the knobs. I didn't even realize you needed an amplifier. I was not the brightest bulb in the box, I guess. So for the first year I played, I didn't have an amp of my own to play through. When I would play with the band, I would play through somebody else's amp. And when I would learn songs, say at home, listening to a radio or a cassette tape, I would press the body of the bass guitar up to my jawbone, and I could feel it that way, because you can hear a bass louder if it's more directly connected to your skull.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, really?
Yeah.
It's just hard to picture this. I'm like, he's got this instrument by his jaw, and I'm thinking, how is he doing this? It's wild, actually.
Well, I got pressed into it because I remember riding in the back seat of a car with our entire band was driving in a car, and we were heading to go play somewhere, and I was new to the band, so there was some songs I didn't know, and they told me, you have to know this song by today. We're going to go play there, and we're going to play it. And I was all nervous, so they put it on the cassette deck in the car, and they cranked up the speakers, and I'm sitting there with a bass kind of like wedged, I'm kind of almost like upright between my legs, and I'm touching basically I just touched my jaw to the bass guitar, felt it out, got the key, the proper key, and a couple of the changes, and we got through the song. I wouldn't recommend that for professional polished performance, but it can get you through in a pinch.
No, that's pretty cool, though, actually, like I said, because I've never heard that from a musician before. I know everybody's kind of, learned how they've learned how to do certain things a certain way, but I'm like, yeah, that's unique to you, I have to say. It's one thing I wanted to point out, of course.
It's different with a six-string guitar because you hear the notes more.
I gotcha. Okay. And, of course, I know nothing about a guitar, so it's kind of like you're giving me an education. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about you as a singer. You, of course, first time singing was at age 18. I wanted to ask, did you have any preconceived notions in terms of the content and the genre at the start of your career, meaning I know I want to sing this and I want to do this? Was it all kind of paved out for you in your mind, or were you kind of like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing?
Well, it was kind of hard at first. I didn't see myself as a singer in a band right away. And the first few years I played was in kind of like the hair rock 80s, high screaming vocals era, and that was a little bit difficult for me to pull off. So I at first, when I started singing, I was lost, and I was forcing notes that were too difficult for me to pull off. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older, dug deeper into the songbook, back into some of the classic rock and some of the bluesier stuff from the 70s, where I found some music that I could sing better and get behind. Some classic stuff like John Fogerty and Van Morrison, and I started feeling more comfortable as a singer.
Okay. So it wasn't something that just naturally came to you.
At first I was lost.
Gotcha. No, I understand. Now, you've been classified by other individuals as being called a rock and blues artist. Would you personally classify yourself as that? Would you say you're the personification of that sort of an artist, or would you classify yourself as something otherwise?
Well, if I have to classify anything, I'd say rock and roll. I got a bluesy side to it, for sure. I don't see myself as a blues artist straight up, more of a rock and roll guy.
Okay. I got it. Now, let me just rattle this off to the individuals that don't know this, of course. I know at present that you're capable of performing blues, country, pop music, classical rock, and indie music. I wanted to know, have you considered extending your skills musically, meaning by way of instrumental education, or perhaps maybe attempting to integrate other styles into your performances, musically, that is?
Well, I think I'm always trying to learn a little bit more. I'm currently jamming with my new band, where some of the musicians in the band have a strong jazz background. And I'm kind of open to seeing where that leads me. If these guys jamming with the jazz background, maybe it'll rub off on me a little bit, and I start picking up a few more chords on the guitar and learning different kinds of changes. So I guess I'm open to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. From the instrumental side of things, because I know you had prefaced that earlier, do you think, or will you find yourself in a position where you might say, you know what, yeah, I want to try to learn how to play the drums, or I want to try to play this, or is there room for something such as that with your busy schedule?
I love drums. I get on the drums whenever I get a chance, usually at open jam sessions. I'm a decent hack drummer. I'm not a real drummer, but I love it.
Yeah, I have a hard time picturing you doing that. And again, because I have the advantage of knowing you, I'm kind of like, yeah, I see him on the guitar, I see him singing. I'm not quite so sure about the other things, but God knows if you tried, you'd probably succeed at that as well. There's one thing that Tomcat doesn't do, he doesn't fail. And I've yet to go to a show where I'm disappointed or where I just don't get the best performance out of him. You are a Class A performer, my friend, just saying.
Thank you very much, Cindy Mitch.
Oh, you're very welcome. Now, in pursuing your dream, I know that you've lent your artistic capabilities to just an exorbitant number of bands. I don't even know, is there an exact number or maybe a guesstimate you can give us of approximately how many bands you've been in over time?
Well, I've probably performed out professionally with about 60 different bands, maybe more.
Wow.
I have a list somewhere, but it's up there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I imagine. Yes, I've taken a look at that. Oh, my goodness. I'm very proud, of course, to say that I know that I'm acquainted with and friends with some of your fellow collaborators, Dave Miller, Scotty Behrendt, of course. I wanted to rattle off just a few of my favorite bands you've participated in, meaning Shag, Freddie and the Cruisers, which I've been to before, the Tiggers, and Slither. Of all the experiences that you've shared with these fellow musicians, can you maybe name some of the bands that proved more instrumental, you think, in sharpening your skills, just looking back? And that's not to say one better than the other, but just, ones that have helped you most, you feel?
Well, there's quite a few musicians that have helped me along the way. I can remember one in particular. There was a guy I used to jam with named George Castro, and when I started jamming with him, it was when it kind of marked my transformation from more of a heavy metal bass player into becoming more of a blues round musician. And so that was like one of the first times I jumped off into something new. And it was from playing with George, who was a guitar player and a very fine singer. Another thing that I got from playing with George is I saw how he could sing 4 feet off of a microphone and be heard real well without monitors. And I've always kept that in the back of my mind every time I'm singing and I can't hear myself. I just think, well, it can be done.
Right. Oh, definitely. That's amazing. That's an amazing feat. Holy cow.
Yeah, he was something. Also early on, I had an opportunity to kind of run lights and hang around with other bands, like roadie kind of stuff. And one scene in particular was a band called the Soul Patrol. And they were a kind of an all-star group of Milwaukee players that put together an original project and started drawing good crowds right off the bat. Early Thomas, Scotty Behrendt, Rick Holmes, Alex Kostopoulos, Tommy Graywolf, a whole host of people were in that band, and that was kind of inspirational too, to see a band putting together original music, but playing in almost like playing in cover venues, where they could play to a real mainstream crowd playing original material.
Gotcha. Okay, now on the flip side of the fence, can you remember or can you tell me which was the most short-lived experience you've ever had with a band?
Yeah. I had a band, we had a 3-piece band, kind of out there metal kind of stuff, and the name of the band was Fetal Juice. And we played one show and decided that we need to either rename or restart.
Wow. That actually happens. Holy cow, that name is definitely not working for me. Oh my goodness.
No, I know.
Wow.
It was a pretty long time ago, and it was supposed to be like a shock rock kind of thing.
Sure.
Okay. But it didn't really fly for me either. So.
I get obviously because you are where you are right now, and thank God for that one. Very typical question to ask, or at least I try to ask this on occasion, because you are popular and well-known in the area, obviously, and let's face it, I've said this about 8 times. I personally believe that you facially resemble Joaquin Phoenix, who is a very talented actor, as well as Mr. Johnny Cash. So when you combine the two, it kind of goes without saying you're a pretty handsome devil, and we all know this in town. And if you go to his page, you're going to see the same thing I do. So I have to ask the question, stalkers, do you find yourself having the musician stalkers / groupies / I can't live without Tomcat Malta sort of thing?
Well, hopefully people would have something better to do with their life than follow me around. But it happens sometimes. I think it, not too often, but it happens sometimes. There's someone might expect more out of you than what you feel like it should be,
Sure.
As far as being a performer and someone wanting more than just that kind of performance from you, I suppose.
Right. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You try to keep it try to keep that stuff under control and try to, watch your back, I guess.
Definitely. And of course, like I said, and I guess I should ask you because I never did ask you if you agree with my consensus of, do you resemble these two folks, do you think, in your opinion?
I've heard the Joaquin Phoenix thing quite a bit, and I see it too. Should have been his stunt double. I just couldn't
that
have
would
the
have been
insurance.
cool.
It was outrageous for that kind of job.
I got to tell you, one thing that's just occupying my mind, and I have to ask, is do you think at some given point in time that will help your career professionally, meaning having a resemblance to someone so profound in the community that people recognize?
Well, I have no idea, but I guess take anything you can get, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, why not?
Yep. I agree with
Why
you.
not,
Yep. In fact, and to people that don't know you, obviously, I guess one of the offerings that they may not be familiar with unless they've checked out your website or seen you in public is that you offer something called Johnny Doe, which is actually a Johnny Cash tribute show. Could you maybe detail on a little bit more to us as far as what the full array of that show entails?
Okay, sure. This started a few years back where a good friend of mine, Brian Zisk, started putting together Christmas shows to take into nursing homes and hospitals. And we were mostly doing holiday music. Well, sometime later, kind of after the Johnny Cash movie came out and people were pointing out the resemblance I had to that Joaquin Phoenix actor, I put together some Johnny Cash songs and started doing the same kind of thing like that. And that's all it was really meant to be, except that it caught on a little bit. And now I've gotten hired a few times, and I call it Johnny Doe. And it's mostly a Johnny Cash show, but I do a little bit of variety. I do some holiday songs. I'll do some songs that are, by Jim Reeves or John Denver, kind of stuff that kind of goes together for that strumming, singing, acoustic guitar. I don't do it too much, but it's fun, and the people that ask me to play are responsive and, appreciative.
Sure, certainly. I mean, do you think in your own mind, and this is just from your own personal preference here, do you enjoy the acoustical shows more so than being in a band, participating in the band sort of thing? I mean, do you have a preference, or is it both just as enjoyable to you?
Well, I think I prefer to play in a band at this point. I continue to work on my guitar skills. Coming up as a bass player, I think pretty basically as far as accompanying my voice with the guitar. I go out and see knockout guitar players like Matt Tyner, local guy from the Carpetbaggers, and I see what can really be done on a guitar as far as a one-man show goes. And so at this point, I'm more comfortable playing in the band, but I'll sell it. I'll sell it with my voice when I go out and sing solo. Variety is the spice of life, If you want to, one day do a band show, one day do an acoustic show, another day play a different style of music. I think that's what's appealing to me, is having a little bit of variety, and you never really know exactly what to expect. It keeps you on your toes.
Definitely. Makes you a well-rounded musician, obviously. That kind of goes without saying. One other side note I wanted to ask you, because I know in shows past that I've seen you in, of course, you do various Johnny Cash songs. So I'm just wondering if he holds any significance to you in terms of being an inspiration or what you admire most about his styling.
Well, I do got to say happy birthday to Johnny Cash. It was his birthday yesterday, so happy belated to Johnny Cash.
Happy birthday. Awesome.
I think he's an icon. His songs, he had a knack for lyrics and clever lyrics, story songs, and I don't know. And then of course he had his trademark voice. It's I guess having covered his songs, it's a part of me, but that's probably about as far as it goes with me. I don't really see myself as a Johnny Cash emulator at all.
I gotcha. I understand. That's fine. I wanted to move on to talk about Reckless Life, which is, to those that don't know, Milwaukee Guns N' Roses tribute band, which allotted you the privilege to be able to play the musical role of Izzy. To those that know you, meaning such as myself, I guess I see it as somewhat of a stretch. Is that type of music and that sort of thing something that you're very comfortable with? Maybe I'm just odd in thinking that that's an unusual stretch for you musically?
All right. Well, David Rossingall, who started Reckless Life, had called me a number of years ago when he first started the group under a different name, and I filled in with them on a gig on bass. I enjoy it. When I started playing, that was the biggest band at the time, you know, or pretty soon after I started playing. Guns N' Roses was a big deal, and I must have played their first record, over and over again until I wore it out back then. And I especially liked the guitar parts, the way the different guitar parts intertwined. You know, so it's in me, and I enjoyed it. And when I ran into David this year, he told me they were looking for a rhythm guitar player, and that they had a singer, John Wood, a guy out of Chicago, who's fantastic, does a great job covering Axl. And I looked at it as a great opportunity to play songs that I kind of grew up with and try to improve my six-string guitar playing at this time.
Okay, I've gotcha. And has it proved to be a memorable experience for you? I mean, I would ascertain in all these different stylings that you're trying, you're pretty much getting, like you're saying, the well-roundedness where you're kind of got your hat and everything all around. Is there someone that you'd like to participate with locally that you haven't collaborated with yet?
Well, there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to collaborating with. I'm looking forward to this June. I'll be participating in the Steel Bridge Songwriting Festival up in Sturgeon Bay. That's put together by Pat McDonald and Melanie Jane of a group called Purgatory Hill, and it's a collection of a fantastic group of songwriters from all across the country and even international. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with that. There's a ton of players around this town and other towns that I would jump at the chance to play with. I mean, there's a ton of them, and that's one in particular that seems to stick out to me as something I'm really looking forward to. Mostly, I'm really focused on my new band and my new CD that's coming out,
which
is original.
We're working our way.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, can I talk about that?
You can talk about anything you want, dear. It's your time.
All right.
That's fine, in fact, because I have questions about it.
I just want to say that myself and a collection of friends really have put together a CD release coming up for later this month, and we've been working up and rehearsing the band for a couple of months, and we're ready to hit the town. We got a few shows booked, and one that's coming up is this next Wednesday, March 6th. At the Tonic Tavern on Knick in Bayview, and we'll be playing as a part of the Local Love music series, and we're playing down there at 9 to 12 next Wednesday the 6th, and it's no cover charge for Local Love Night. The group is called Tomcat Joe, and we do original, danceable rock and roll and blues, little countryside on some of it. I think we're going to play a clip later that's got a little bit of a honky-tonk sound.
I was curious to ask that question, too, actually. Now, was this your formulation, meaning that you sat down with your fellow friends and said, hey, you know what, let's all get together and let's formulate this band, or how did all of this come about?
Well, what happened was I've always been writing songs, and a few songs started piling up on me, and a studio opportunity opened up. And I basically got involved with a studio owned and operated by Dr. Lanny Hale, who is a former member of Tony's Tigers, who he's produced, he along with a guy named Craig Fairchild, have produced my CD. We used musicians from various bands I played in to play the parts. I would go in with a bass line and a vocal line and maybe a drum part, and we'd call up a lead guitar player, and a fantastic group of people have came in and helped out. And then once the project got recorded, the band members started, the people that seemed more interested in actually performing the stuff became apparent, and we kind of formed the group out of that.
And here you are now, of course.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention, I don't forget to mention this, of course, as you had said, which is coming out March 24th. There's going to be actually a free CD release party, and that's going to be located down at the Warehouse for those of us that are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Of course, you can come on down, and it is free. There is no charge, which I thought was really kick-ass because that doesn't always happen. Usually it's $5 or $10 to get in, so I think that's totally cool that you're doing that. Question. Easystreet Rock is the name of the debut album that's coming. How does this compare, do you feel, to the other types of work or the other projects that you've done before musically?
Well, I think, how does it compare? I like it.
Meaning
I have
like
a lot more invested into it because it's been a while since I've played on an album or on a record, and to have it be songs you wrote and sang, it gives it a little bit more of a flavor, you have a little bit more of a excitement about it. As compared to being maybe being a hired gun on somebody's project, and which is always a blast to go in a studio, but I think this one compares to that. I don't know, a little bit better for me because it is my own songs. I think that it's accessible to people. I tried to put songs on this record that people that don't know me will like. If I'm playing a song and a real test is playing it live in front of a crowd of people that maybe don't know you. And there's some songs on this that are pretty accessible, got a good beat, and people can grab onto it right away. And I want to put out a record like that.
Gotcha. Now, of course, Easystreet Rock, comparative, as you mentioned, you've composed the songs on this. What types of songs are they going to hear on this, let's say, that they wouldn't have heard on some of your other music, for instance? Because we're going to talk about just a little bit some of the songs you've composed in the past. For yourself personally, just looking at the two now, what's the difference between Easystreet Rock, let's say, as compared to some of the other work you've done before?
Well, all right. First of all, this is my first album, so I don't know. There's nothing to really compare it to unless you go way back to, a good while back. I would say it's going to sound a lot more polished, and I can only thank Lanny Hale for that. Having not one but two producers interested in the quality of the performances and the tones on this record makes all the difference. And we spent a lot of time putting this together, 2 years. So I think the sound quality is going to be there. I think the time and care spent into it is the difference.
Sure, certainly. And, of course, because you are an artist, I have to ask this question, or I usually tend to for most of the people that come on my show. Do you have a process as it's relative to composing your music?
Usually I'll start with a little hook going through my head, either a melody or a lyric or the two together. And then usually you try to figure out, well, what's it going to take to make this hook, or what I think is a hook, into a song.
Okay. And then, of course,
so that's what I'll pick up. I'll usually pick up a 6-string guitar or a bass and start putting chords behind this hook, and then I start writing lyrics. I think that's what it starts with, is this a hook and a basic lyric, and then you try to fill out the rest of it and chip away what doesn't belong, keep what does belong until it looks like a song. And then, sometimes you do rewrites, and some songs come together quick, a couple hours. Other songs take years.
Look at that. Thank goodness. And everything you come out with, I'm just being the doting fan here, but I'm just marveled and amazed by some of the pieces that you've done, actually. And because I have the esteemed honor of interviewing you, I get to rave about the songs that I appreciate the most. So there are two for me personally that I've listened to that I enjoy the most out of the ones that I've heard out of you, one of which is Right Down the Wrong Road and Beautiful Thing.
Oh, okay.
I would like you to give to the folks just a short narrative surrounding the actual composition of both of these pieces, meaning is there a backstory to either or? And if I were to ask Tomcat, I would like him to tell me which song he fancies the most out of his own work.
Okay. Well, let's see. First off, Right Down the Wrong Road is kind of a fast, honky-tonk, rock and roll country bass line. I was trying to just write a song that was fun and told like kind of a tall tale, like a story. And that's all it was. I was trying to write a fun, fast story song, about getting in and out of trouble. Beautiful Thing is just, I wanted to write a straight-up blues tune, just a straight-up blues shuffle that would be easy to show other musicians, so it would be an easy song to go out and play at, say, a jam session. And I pretty much wrote Beautiful Thing to do that. I wrote it so that it had a purpose to be able to be something that would transfer easily to live situations with players that were good players that maybe didn't necessarily learn all my chord changes. So it's a basic blues.
Okay. And for you personally, which one's your favorite? All-time favorite? All the ones you've composed?
All the ones I've composed?
Yep.
I don't think I've composed it yet. I don't think I've composed
really?
it yet, Jen. I think there's some good gold in there. There's gold in there somewhere, and it's coming. I have there's a couple of songs I'm real hot on this on the Easystreet Rock CD coming out this month on Fairtone Records. It's 2 tracks in particular that feature Jason Goldsmith, a local multi-instrumentalist who's also a member of Tomcat Joe. He's featured on saxophone on both of these tracks, and those tracks are All Night Long, which is kind of a smooth country reggae kind of feel. And another song is called Pair of Tens, which is like a walking bass line blues, where we recorded that with Jason on sax and also myself and Rick Holmes, famous local bass player, playing duplicate bass lines. Myself playing a Music Man Stingray 4-string and Rick playing his big upright bass. And we played it, the parts note for note with each other to try to combine the sound. So the 2 songs on this upcoming CD I would think I'm real proud of are All Night Long and Pair of Tens. But I have to say, it's hard to press to ask me which ones are my favorite because I like them all, and I wouldn't have put Right Down the Wrong Road on the CD first if I didn't like it.
Of course. Of course. And hands down, when people go and they listen, especially if you go to the website, check out some of the different music that you have listed on there, they're just, the blues thing is the one thing that I always take away from me. It's just you have this solid sound, and it is very bluesy. I like the sound of your voice. It's very, you have a good radio voice. You do well on radio. You're very deep sounding, and I like that. I've always liked that about you. That's one of my favorite attributes. You have a great presentation, and your sound just resonates in such a manner that's just very captivating, I think, for most people. And I find it to be very impressive. Many people find it to be very impressive, actually. My other question, if you were approached, because you are a Milwaukee musician, let's say you were approached months from now and somebody said to you, you know what, we want to come and have you tour with us. Would you be open to ideas or collaborations that are not here in Milwaukee?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Really?
If there was something going on good, I'll go.
Okay, I got it.
I wouldn't leave anybody hanging, though, if I can help it. Some of the guys in my band might not be able to tour or something like that, but at this point, I'm willing to travel and see some new things and play my music.
Awesome.
Still willing to
so
do
now,
that.
Because there will probably be, gaggles upon gaggles upon gaggles of people listening to this interview, not only live, but of course when we archive this today, I have to ask the proverbial question because, I have to. Because you're cute. So women want to know, is this talented musician available, or is he off the market?
This talented musician. Thank you very much. I am.
That's you.
Oh, you're talking about me. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes, I'm talking about you, Tomcat.
Well, I am single. I'm unmarried. I guess I spend a lot of time focused on this album and putting this band together, and I've neglected certain social aspects. I suppose I haven't been involved with anybody in a while. So
I gotcha.
Who knows? I guess my life is open right now.
I gotcha. Oh, and I also didn't want to forget to ask you about this because I know you cited that your appearance is going to be on March 6th at the Tonic Tavern, but I also noted that you're going to be doing an appearance on the 1st at Ponies in Cudahy. So is that going to be you alone with the band, or what's happening with that?
Well, that's going to be a full band show. That's going to be a Tomcat Joe full band show. That's actually our first show. And, we'll be down at Ponies, 5132 South Packard in Cudahy this Friday, 9:30.
Okay. Wonderful. We don't want to forget about that. Now, if you could just be quiet for 30 seconds, because we're almost ready to wrap up, but I usually take this opportunity to give myself 30 seconds to tell you my overall assessment and let the audience know exactly what I think of you or what they should know about you that they don't. Tomcat Malta,
I was going to ask one thing. If you're going to play Right Down the Wrong Road, I just got to give props to the guitarist who recorded on that, and his name is Jeff Arnold. He's a very fine local guitar player and guitar editor at Hal Leonard Music Publishing. Thank you.
Okay. You're quite welcome. Actually, I was going to speak. And just to speak to that, as a matter of fact, for those of you who happened to be listening in last week, and I don't know, Tomcat, if you get a chance to listen to the interview with Bill White and Lori Jesnick, the two musicians that are also friends of ours that were on the show last week, we were having some technical problems with uplifting their MP3 audio clips to play on the show. I had to go back literally after the show, add it back on, and then have people listen to it thereafter. So unfortunately, they haven't rectified that problem. So they're going to have to upload your MP3. So anyone from this point forward in the next 24 hours that listens to the show will hear Right Down the Wrong Road as the last part of this interview. They just weren't able to I don't know why, but for some reason they are not meshing my MP3 files into my shows as they're supposed to. So it's a work in progress. So people will hear it. They just aren't going to hear it on today's live version of it. So I'm sorry to say that they can't hear that. They're just going to hear you and me for right now. But we'll be on that.
We'll forgive you, Sin, because you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much, considering the fact that it's Blog Talk Radio's fault, not mine. But I am trying. I did try really, really hard. So let me just say this much to the individuals who are listening to the show who may not know Tomcat as well as I do or other people in our fine, fine city. This is what I can say about you. First and foremost, you're hands down just a class act. You are a gentleman, 100% gentleman. Quiet, collected, professional, extremely consummate and passionate about the work that you do. You are always, always giving a Class A production. Anytime that I see you, you're always very giving of your time to individuals who come and participate and support your music. You always are on top of things in terms of producing a quality product. And there are musicians out there that enjoy their music and they love it and they're passionate about it, but you bring something, you resonate your music. It's not just that you sing it, you resonate it. And you're just such a wonderful production. You're a production in and of itself, and that production that you take to each and every one of your bands is just a modicum of your success, I think, and it just speaks volumes of the talent that you possess. I'm in awe of what you do, and I'm so honored to know you.
Well, thank you very much, Cindy, for being so kind.
You're very welcome.
It's great being on your show.
Well, thank you so much. Now, before I forget, before I let you go, I just wanted to make note of this, and forgive me if I forget anything. That's why you're on the line right now. www.tomcatjoe.com is your website. To listen to your music, you can either go to YouTube or Reverb Nation. Tomcat's also on Twitter with the handle of @Tomcat_Joe. Have I missed anything?
Well, that pretty much covers it. I mean, I'm on Facebook, too. And
right.
Mostly I work out of the website.
Okay. So tomcatjoe.com would be the one thing as far as that goes.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't want to forget this either. Again, March 1st at Ponies in Cudahy at 9:30. March 6th at the Tonic Tavern. We got a time on that one, dear?
Yeah, we'll be playing at 9 o'clock to midnight at Tonic Tavern. And I want to mention also our CD release on Free Dance at the Warehouse Hot Water, 818 South Water Street, on Sunday, March 24th, from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Perfect. And then this way, then we all know, because I will be there and present. I will definitely be there, and I will definitely be present, and I'm so very excited for you. And I hope that this new collaboration is going to go very well. Please send all my very best love to Daniel Nathan, of course, who's another friend of mine, who, of course, is in your band, as we both know. And I want you to promise me, Johnny.
Daniel's playing lead guitar and flute and doing some vocals in this, and we're having a great time.
Oh, my God, is that absolutely awesome. Now, Mr. Musical Mogul / Johnny Cash Jr., I will be very offended if you make it big in the next year and you do not come back on my show to tell us all about it.
Oh, I'll be sure to come back. This has been a blast, and I'd love to do it again.
I appreciate that. And like I said, definitely give us 24 hours and write down the wrong word. I'm assured is going to be on the end of this. And just to let you know, Tomcat, and you can let everyone else know, within the next 20 minutes or so after we get finished, this will become an archived episode. So you can listen to this interview at any given point in time. I'll be posting your information up on my Facebook page and all of your links and information so people can find you, and let them know they can come back any time, all year round, and they can go ahead and listen to your interview at any point. And remind me, Mr. Malta, when we are off the air, that I have an opportunity for you guys to talk to you musically.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, sir.
All right, dear. I'll let you go. You have a great afternoon.
You too.
Thanks,
Bye.
dear. All right, folks, that was probably one of my most funnest, and I know that's not the great author word, funnest, most entertaining interviews I've had since Bill and LJ last week, as a matter of fact. I have to admit to you, and not that I would admit to him, but it is always probably more nerve-wracking for me to interview individuals who are my close friends or individuals that I know very well because I want it to be so impressive. So I hope that today's interview was a reflection of Tomcat and what he personifies as a musician and as a person. Again, do not want to forget www.tomcatjoe.com. Twitter handle again is @Tomcat_Joe. Please visit YouTube and Reverb Nation to listen to Tomcat's music. And, of course, you can go ahead and check him out on Facebook because he has a page on Facebook, Tomcat and the last name Malta. That's Malta. And for those of you who are local, March 1st again at Ponies in Cudahy, March 6th in Bayview at the Tonic Tavern, and please do not forget, free, can't accentuate that enough nowadays, March 24th at the Warehouse from 5 to 8 o'clock is going to be the CD release party. I will certainly be there, so if you want to see me, come on down and check me out. I wish I could say I'm going to Ponies this weekend, but unfortunately I'll be in New York working on more projects relative to the show. So I want to say thank you so much to everybody who took the time to listen today. Thank you ever so much to Tomcat Malta for disrupting his schedule a little bit to visit with us. And I hope that tomorrow you'll come back in the afternoon to listen to my exclusive interview with designer Elizabeth Mason. You have yourselves a safe and wonderful afternoon, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.